The Scyl the Drake's lore story with our friend Ash? Stay tuned. Hey guys, so today we are joined by our friend Ash. Ash, thank you so much for being here with us today.
Leila, it is my pleasure. So are the Drakes. I'm very excited.
Yes, Scyl the Drake. So guys, if you just saw our most recent collab, we were talking about our favorite champs, and of course you know Scyl the Drakes came up. And if perchance, I don't know how in the universe you would have missed this collab, I will have the link down below. Check it out, give Ash a thumbs up, and leave him a nice comment, because it's really good.
It was a pleasure chatting with you. That was really fun. We talked about our 10 favorite champions, and yeah, Scyl made an appearance.
Of course she did. I mean, how could she not make an appearance as a favorite? She had to be.
I know. She's so cool looking, as well as, you know, what she does in the game. And after pre-reading this lore, this story on her, I'm really, really excited for this video.
Yes, and that's why I thought it'd be perfect to share because it's great. You love her anyway. She's one of your favorites, and the lore is very good.
Yeah, I'll be honest with you. Before I checked out your channel, I did not have a healthy appreciation for the lore that they kind of add on these champions, right? I was just like, okay, lore, whatever, post it to Facebook and don't look at it, you know? But I will say that you really turned me on to it with, you know, you mentioned your Krisk on when you were on my channel.
Yep.
And I checked out that video, really loved it. And then kind of taking a deep dive, now seeing the Scyl and a couple of the other lore stories. Really cool stuff.
Yeah, I really think they do a good job. And so you guys are gonna see how much we like this story, and you're gonna see exactly how good it is. Scyl of the Drakes is a terrifying force to behold on the battlefield. Her rancour glittering in the sunlight as it whistles through the air in brutal swipes and swings. Her dragon scale cloak billowing behind her, Scyl cuts an imposing image worthy of a true warrior queen. Her foes reel and break, unable to match her fury, while her allies find themselves invigorated in her presence, their fatigue and pain banished by the blessings of the Phoenix.
Once, Scyl was nothing more than a terrified girl, orphaned by ruthless Night Revenant cultists who razed her home village to the ground and slaughtered its inhabitants. Scyl alone managed to escape, but she was merely a child trapped in the Dreadlands with nary a hope of survival. She should have died there, but Providence intervened.
The Disciples of the Drake, a dragon-worshipping trope of outcasts and exiles, found Scyl when she had already lost consciousness from dehydration and hunger. They brought the girl to their hideout and nursed her back to health. In turn, she was sworn into the troop's service, though it soon became apparent that Syl's talents lay not in cleaning and cooking and tending to the myriad everyday needs of the camp, but rather in the art of battle.
The disciples were not numerous, so any fresh blood was welcome among their warriors, and Scyl had proven herself both capable and passionate. She bested all her peers and many opponents, older and more experienced by the time she came of age, swiftly taking her place among the raiding parties and earning her share of the glory in uncompromising hit-and-run attacks against orcs, the undead, and Night Revenant parties venturing into the Deadlands. In due time, she rose to command a small band of young warriors of her own, which grew along with her reputation. Syl's reckless courage led to many victories over the course of several years, but it almost cost her everything as well.
When a large Night Revenant raiding party had been discovered camping among the desiccated cliffs of the Grandfang Ravine, Scyl, blinded by hatred, ordered an attack regardless. Her warriors and she were outnumbered, but they had an element of surprise on their side and struck under the cover of night. With stones cast from cliff crests and skirmishers moving among the rocks like vengeful specters, Syl's warriors rained death down upon the foe.
But the initial confusion passed, and cultists threw themselves into the fray with maddened fury, pressuring the disciples with sheer numbers and ferocity. Scyl fought in the first ranks, as she always did, even as her warriors fell around her. Though wounded and bruised in the brutal melee, she cut her way through the armor-clad Dark Priest who led the Night Revenant force. They clashed between the starlit skies of Kraken, and steel met steel. For several minutes the duel lasted without either combatant gaining an upper hand, yet soon cultists started flocking in to assist their leader.
Cutting them all down cost Scyl precious time and strength. In the end, she missed a mace stroke that shattered her ribs and left her grasping for air on the sand, her foe preparing to deliver the death blow. But Scyl was not a warrior to give up even in direst of circumstances. In the final moment, she managed to reach for her spear and thrust it through the priest's dark heart, sending him back to his twisted master.
Silence had fallen over the ravine. Apart from Scyl, no soul remained alive amidst the cliffs, and even she felt life ebbing away from her body. Vengeance and bitter triumph remained her only companions at that moment, but she was not destined to die. Unbeknownst to her, a powerful djinn observed the battle from afar, and so impressed it was with the young woman's brazen skills that it deigned to appear in the aftermath of the slaughter. Wreathed in flame, it took guise of the phoenix and spoke onto Scyl the words of praise and blessing. She received a small fraction of its magics, her wounds mended before her very eyes. The spirit vanished, leaving naught but an exquisite cloak of dragon scale in its wake, a final gift it wished to bestow upon the warrior who had impressed it so.
Scyl spent the day giving proper burial rites to her fallen warriors and returned to the trope alone, where she was hailed as a heroine. Her reputation grew, and, after numerous battles, she rose to lead the disciples of the Drake herself. To this day, they remain a force to be reckoned with in the Crocan Desert, and servants of Siroth avoid straying into their territory, lest they incur the wrath of Scyl of the Drakes. Okay, wow, so that was the story for Scyl of the Drakes. Now, Ash, for as much as you love Scyl, what did you think of this story?
I had no idea. It's so cool because, as I mentioned at the beginning, it really colors in, adds some context, it adds some color behind these characters who we love because of what they do in the game. But I love the lore behind it because, especially like in Scyl, the story was awesome, like her being an orphan and then her, going into that battle and kind of getting revenge in some ways, and then kind of meeting the djinn at the end and getting its magic and learning about the cloak. Like, it was all really cool. And I like how it kind of synergizes with her abilities, right? That the cloak, has this healing power that healed her, and she has a heal on her passive as well. So it adds a lot more context to the abilities and what these champions do, what they're all about in the game, that obviously I didn't know before, and I'm happy to know now.
Yeah, I love it too. Just like you were saying, like what I love about these stories is when they give us this background info, but they also tie the lore into their abilities. And exactly like you said with the Phoenix, I love that. Like, that whole Phoenix part of the story is probably my favorite part of this, because she does have that Phoenix Right ability. So it kind of breathes some life into why it's called Phoenix Right, because that's exactly what happened. Is while she was dying, the Phoenix determined that, yeah, she had the right to live. She fought, she should live. And then so here we are with this Phoenix Right ability, and how she does get the dragon cloak, like you said too. It all fits in just beautifully. The lore along with the abilities in the game.
It really does. I almost want there to be like a book about this, or a movie or something, because it really does have that. I don't want to like overstate it, but it really does have that, leaves you wanting to know a little bit more about Scyl the Drakes, whatever happened to her after this,
And then now, like, how did she... I mean, she's technically like not in a shard, but she kind of is. We do get her as a free champ in the game. So how does she meet the Arbiter? Like, that would be kind of cool to see. Does she meet the Arbiter? How does she get involved in the fight to help Teleria? Is it because, again, she's trying to seek vengeance against orcs and the undead or the servants of Siroth? So I agree. I think that would be really neat if there was some way to know a little bit more.
Yeah, and even to find out like who she was fighting against, is that a character in the game, or is it one that they're going to add? So definitely a lot of questions to be answered here, but that's part of the allure to the whole story, right? Is it kind of makes you think a little bit, and we don't know, but it makes you use your imagination, I guess, right?
This is a really good story, and thank you for joining me for this. I figured this would be a good one for you for as much as you like her, so now it adds more depth and more reasoning to appreciate and just love Scyl even more, as if there wasn't enough reasons to love her already.
Right? I mean, she's free, she's OP, and now she has some amazing lore behind her as well. Leila, it's been amazing coming on here. Thanks for sharing the story with me.
Yes, thank you so much. And guys, thank you very much for being here.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Hey, if you enjoyed this video, check out some more videos up here in the playlist on the top right.